You briefly kind of touched on sort of the sexual side effects of a non, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a unhealthy pelvic floor. So let's talk a little bit about this, because we have so much, both as men and women, going through this time period. Obviously, women, we're losing our hormones, our libido tanks. We get things like vaginal dryness, and men often see erectile dysfunction, or poor ejaculation, or lack of being able to keep an erection. There's so much happening. So a lot of times I'll hear from women, they're just like, no, we just don't do that anymore. And I'm like, that's a huge part of our connectivity and intimacy and life. Sexual pleasure is part of that. But I think a lot of people in midlife just start like, that box was checked years ago. We're just done. Let's talk specifically about things that somebody could do with pelvic health that can heighten that capacity, both as men and women. Because let's face it, men don't do proactive things. Women have to go figure this out and instruct the man, maybe through rent a stranger. But because they don't want to know. But it's a big part of women's lives that sort of get backburnered, in midlife.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, I would say all of the factors that we've talked about already are still also contributing factors, but the changes to our vulvas, our vaginas, the structures within our pelvis, our sensation, oftentimes it may become painful. So if something is painful or we don't experience pleasure from it, and that could be pain from sort of sandpaper sex, where if something's being inserted, it feels it hurts, it burns, it stings. We may even have some bleeding. It could be pain also from tight, restricted muscles. So the pelvic floor muscles, especially people who are experiencing incontinence and prolapse, they will often unconsciously be guarding, afraid of leaking, afraid of having an urge, feeling vulnerable if they think their organs are going to shift out of position. And that tension will also disrupt blood flow, circulation, and the ability for potentially insertion. Also our ability to experience an orgasm. So releasing tension is another thing that people would want to be mindful of. And seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist. So having somebody evaluate, can they look and see physical changes? Can they help screen for GSM, genitourinary syndrome, menopause? And also help you understand how to release those muscles, but also how to activate them. We want the muscles to go through a range of motion so that they have good blood flow and circulation. But also when we have strong muscles, but yet supple muscles, so muscles that have strength, have good tone, but also know how to release and relax, that allows for insertion, that allows for pleasure, that allows for the blood flow and circulation to happen as we like. So pelvic floor muscle training is part of that. Vaginal estrogen is part of that. Potentially testosterone, vaginal DHEA, all of which can play a role in helping support the tissues externally and internally. There was an interesting article that looked at pelvic floor muscle training with vaginal estrogen. And in this case, they used estriol as the form of estrogen. And they were looking at a group of women with the term they used in the studies was vulval vaginal atrophy, which is sort of the outdated term of GSM, genitourinary syndrome of menopause. And one group was just Kegel exercises alone, and the other was Kegels with vaginal estrogen. And that group, Kegels and vaginal estrogen, it was estriol, fared better, had quicker, more significant improvement, especially in the moderate and severe. So they had grouped it into mild, moderate, severe vulval vaginal atrophy, and the moderate and severe had even more significant changes. So the role of vaginal estrogen is important, but it's also like what helps it get delivered to where it needs to go is that blood flow circulation, is the muscles contracting and relaxing. So we can't underestimate the power of Kegels when done correctly, but also a whole body approach to Kegels. And from a male perspective, I just need to apologize for my sniffing. I have a bit of a cold and my nose is running, like I have nasal incontinence, so I apologize for that. From a male perspective, I get the question often from the women in my community. My husband has prostatitis. My husband is going through prostate cancer treatment. Will these exercises work for him? So men have a pelvic floor as well. They are not as influenced from a hormonal perspective as we are. They are influenced with posture changes, with musculoskeletal changes, with constipation. But prostate issues are one of the major contributors for men if they haven't experienced things along the way. And all the same principles of posture and activating and relaxing, like releasing tension, but taking the muscles through the range of motion, will also work for men. So the same principles of the Buff Muff method apply. We just change the activation cues. A really good one for men is to imagine pulling the turtle into the shell or making their penis dance. Women, a lot of it is pick up a blueberry with your vagina and your anus, or imagine sipping a smoothie through a straw with your vagina. Those are sort of the activation cues that can be helpful. But so from a sexual health perspective, we want healthy, robust tissue. We want muscles that can contract and relax. We want to remove the apprehension some people feel of, will I leak? Can my partner see or feel my prolapse? Because that's going to take us out of the moment and also cause that sort of constriction. So when we have those in check, then we can now be more present and we can experience pleasure. We will find it more enjoyable. A big, I think, challenge to libido is pain and discomfort. And when we address that, all of a sudden the libido can come back. It's not just, oh, take testosterone and your libido is magically going to come back. We need to address the actual structures and function as well.